And now for our feature presentation.
He'll be fine on the mountain.
JB and Darren on the JB and Goldwater Show.
Line drive right field, base hit. South Carolina wins the College World Series. Watson, touchdown. Hunter Renfrow. He got him, and it's all over. Coastal Carolina rules the roost. They win the championship. And South Carolina has won the national championship.
The Citadel baseball team has done it again, but this time the Bulldogs beat one of the top teams in the country. They are giant killers. Get the ball to Bennett. He does.
Gamecocks are in the Final Four.
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon, and welcome aboard the JB and Goldwater Show, live, loud, and online, and very proudly presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases, MotleyRice.com, driven by Stokes Volkswagen. Find them at StokesVW.com, and make sure that you have downloaded the JB and Goldwater app into your phone. It is free, and it is so easy to use, and we invite all of you to be a part of what we do every day around here via the app. You can comment, you can watch, you can listen, and all that type stuff, and much more is on the way. It's the final day in the month of February. Where did February go? I don't know, but it is gone. March Madness is set to kick in tomorrow, and hoops will take center stage for the next 6 weeks or so as college basketball begins to wind itself down and crank itself up, all really in the same sentence. Make sure you follow us on social media at JB and Goldwater, and individually at Sports Media JB and at Darren Goldwater. 3 guests today: Wes Mitchell at 12:30, Scott Wingo at 1:05, and Gene Sapakoff at 1:30. So much to get to. Plenty of baseball, plenty of basketball. It is Clemson Carolina week on the Diamond. Can't wait to talk to Wingo about that. We'll talk to Gene about it as well. Wes does have some football stuff that we want to make sure we dabble in today pertaining to the Gamecocks. We've got a deadline in place for Major League Baseball to be able to play a complete season. And even though the deadline has not passed, let's be honest, it's pretty much passed. More big news out of Major League Baseball today. It was the wildest of wild weekends when it comes to the top 10 in college hoops. Has never happened before, and it was an unbelievable Saturday, and so on and so forth. I don't think we've got enough time to get it in, but we'll try. Hey, Darren.
Saturday was awesome. It was a good capper for the full Saturday slate. I brought it up Friday. It was the last time of the year because now we're getting into conference tournament time. So the last Saturday that we'd have 140, 150, whatever the number was. I think it was in the 140s on Saturday. And I didn't even realize, as I'm following along all of it, all day, I didn't even realize that we were in the territory of the top 6 teams falling, because I'm watching it from a totally different perspective, having a great day and picking against a lot of these teams, either money line or with the points. And then it wasn't until like our dad's chat, as it's called in the neighborhood, when I got a late night text from one of our viewers, David, who just chimed in. And that's when I was alerted to the fact, oh man, we're going to have top 6 teams lose today. Remember what I said about the tournament? There are some lower sleeper teams, some mid-major conferences. I don't know how far those guys go. You're going to have some upsets, just like you always do. But the big names, that's where the parity is. So there's going to be upsets of, oh, wow. Sure. You know, that mascot, that school that you may not be that familiar with this year, but you know that it has a history of basketball. That's why this tournament's going to be fun.
I think there's a lot of truth in that, Darren. I certainly think that there are some teams that are outside of the top 10 or top 15 that are dangerous and can really make a run.
Yep.
We're going to see, we see upsets every year, but we're going to see them. But where I think what you're more referring to is the chaos of the unknown. Once you get past the expected of the 64 and maybe even the second round of 32, then it's going to be kind of a crapshoot. I mean, honestly, like we could say there are maybe 3 or 4 favorites to win the national championship, but I wouldn't bet on any of them. Not this year.
The more I watch Kentucky, right? Coming off a loss to Arkansas, here I go. If they're healthy, I'm leaning more and more to Kentucky right now. There are a couple of numbers just about, here I go again. Offensive and defensive efficiency being in the top 20 is a major key. Over the last 18 years, 17 have been top 20 offense and top 20 defense efficiency. Kentucky's there. Big Ten teams are not there. They are not a good defensive conference. Kentucky is there. Auburn is there. Baylor is there. I like Kentucky. I've been leaning that way for maybe a week or two when I've been falling off Purdue. But, yeah, I'm about to jump on the Kentucky bandwagon.
Probably don't have to look further, though, than the team that beat them on Saturday. If you're looking for somebody to carry you deep into March, somebody that's maybe a little off the radar, Arkansas is good, and they're playing like it. I mean, it took them a while to get it figured out, and they had to get healthy and things like that, and they did, and they're good. And yeah, look, I do think playing at home helped them beat the Wildcats this weekend. Do I think they're a better team than Kentucky? No, I don't. Kentucky is super, but they're good, and they don't have to go to any home floors in the postseason. These are all neutral sites, and if there's of those 4 right now, Tennessee, Arkansas, Kentucky, Auburn, those are the top 4 in the SEC. You say, all right, which one do you not want to play on a home floor? Arkansas, man. Yes, Kentucky. There's no doubt. Yes, Auburn. There's no doubt about it. But
you don't want to go to any of them.
No, but yeah, gosh, Arkansas they're hot and confident, and that is dangerous in March.
Yeah, they're fun. I mean, that's one of the ones I had, and we talked about it with Raphael on Friday, that was a dangerous spot for Kentucky because of how good Arkansas is at home. I mean, they get that thing rolling, and it's woof. I love them. Yeah, you don't want to go to any of their places, but put them on a neutral floor. That's why I lean Kentucky. Bruce Pearl's got experience going deep into tournaments, and he's got a team that can do it. But put these guys on a neutral floor, a healthy caveat, Kentucky. Look, all 4 of them can make a run. I'd put Tennessee as number 4 of those 4, but all 4 of those can make a run.
Yeah, and I agree with Craig. Hey, look, I like Duke, and Duke's playing with some extra mojo. This is Coach K's last ride, and, you know, it would be a shame to see it end early, honestly, for him in the tournament. I want to see how far they can go. I don't care for Duke, but I do respect the heck out of Coach K, and I'd like to see them make some noise if they can. And they got it. I mean, they've got the team to do it. So yeah, we're getting to crunch time here. There are a lot of conference tournaments that are set to go. There's a lot of conference tournament brackets that are already out because they start, pretty much now. The SoCon tournament, that bracket is out. The Citadel is the 9 seed, and they'll play Friday at 5:00 against the 8 seed ETSU. For what it's worth, Chattanooga is the top seed in the Southern Conference. Sarah Furman is the 2 seed. Let's see. The Sun Belt is out. Coastal Carolina is the 7 seed. They've got Georgia Southern on Thursday. The winner will get 2nd seeded App State. Texas State is the top team in the SBC there. We'll hold those for just a little while from now because South Carolina's women we know where they stand, right? The Big South men's basketball tournament is out, and Charleston Southern, no shocker, is the 12 seed. They've had an awful year. Longwood is the number 1 seed, and USC Upstate has fallen to the 4, and Winthrop is the 2. Most projections have Longwood winning the tournament and getting into the postseason, but I wouldn't write off Winthrop. I wouldn't do it. I'll say this though, I like Gardner Webb at 3. I think Longwood has more of a task with USC Upstate. If Upstate can advance and Longwood advances like expected in the 3rd round, this game's, these are in Charlotte. Longwood might have a task there with Upstate. Upstate had a nice year in the league, and you just can't write off Winthrop, man. They know what to do this time of the year. Upstate can spring an upset. I still think of Longwood. I don't know when they went D1, but I remember when they went D1 and they won no games or 1 game. And my buddy who is now out in San Diego, he was their radio guy. Every time I hear Longwood and realize that they're good,
all I think of is how are they good? I mean, it could have been 20 years ago, but that's what I think of. One weird thing, the bracket's not out because the regular season's not done in the Colonial. The college plays Hofstra tonight. Regardless of the outcome, the college will play Hofstra on Sunday in their first game in the CAA tournament.
Yeah. So you're playing to play well. That's what it doesn't matter if you win or lose, but you're playing to play well.
Yeah, that's it. I mean, a little bit of good feels going into the tournament. Hofstra senior night, I don't know, but it's a strange quirk. Had they won the college over the weekend, they'd have been in a better spot.
That's right. But they didn't.
Yep.
So they got Hofstra tonight. The ACC women's tournament is out. Clemson is the 13 seed, and they'll play Wednesday in the first round against 12th-seeded Syracuse. The top seed is Debbie Antonelli's NC State Wolfpack. They won the ACC, I think, for the first time since she was on the team, if I have that correct. It's been a while. So congratulations to them. And then we know what the SEC looks like. You're going to have to go through South Carolina. The Gamecocks win again this weekend over Ole Miss, and they're set up in the third round Friday, March 4th at noon on the SEC network versus the winner of 9th-seeded Missouri and 8th-seeded Arkansas. And I'll bet you the Dawn Staley and the Lady Gamecocks would like to see Missouri get through the Razorbacks so they can give them a little payback in the SEC tournament. Carolina has won 6 of the previous 7 SEC championships. This one being played at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville, and I'll go ahead and make this prediction now. God help the Missouri Tigers if they can beat Arkansas on Thursday, because there will be no leniency. These teams don't like each other. Missouri upset them earlier in the year in Columbia, Mizzou, and that will not happen in the third round of the SEC tournament this go-around. This will be a beatdown of all types of sorts, if you want to phrase it politely.
Yeah. If you throw – I mean, look, either one of them is going to get smacked. Throw revenge and animosity in there on top. It's going to be one of those days like, what was it? Louisville, Notre Dame women this weekend. It was like 46-5 or 45-6 out of the gate, something like that.
Right. Yeah. It'll be tough. We'll leave it there. Now to the men. Carolina could not get it done at Alabama. They were beaten handily, 90-71. Although, you started to wonder there in the second half when Bama was cold and Carolina got hot, and you thought, well, is this going to be able to sustain itself? And it did. And I didn't really expect it to either. Based on when you watched the first half, you realized quickly, nah, it's not going to be their night. And even when they got going in the second half, Darren, there was a part of me that thought, well, this could be the miracle of all miracles. But the large percentage of my body said, once it clicks back in for Alabama, it'll turn. And it did. And it did quickly. The Tide hit 13 threes overall. They did hit, I think, 9 of those in the first 20 minutes of play at Coleman Coliseum on Saturday evening. And they ran out of there with a 90-71, 19-point win, where defensively Carolina just didn't have a lot to slow them down. They shot 48% from the game, did Alabama, 39.4, basically 40% from beyond three-point range. They hit almost all their free throws at 19 of 23. And look, hey, to Carolina's credit, honestly, they had sloppy moments from time to time, but overall, shooting the basketball, they weren't bad. I mean, they shot it well from the free throw line. Wildens Levesque finally showed back up. They were 7 of 21 from long range. I mean, it wasn't like a horrible. Alabama just wasn't going to lose that night, and Carolina was going to have to play out of their minds, and they did not play out of their minds. And so they lost, and we're kind of back to, okay, well, you didn't really take a step back. You just didn't take a step forward. And now the task at hand, Darren, as we all know, which is what we knew going in. If you don't, you knew you had to beat Missouri no matter what. You can't have a bad loss on your resume. But now it's, okay, well, can you pull off a miracle on the Plains? The percentages are unbelievably incredibly low. So it's more along the lines of staring 18-12, and if you can win tomorrow against Missouri, 9-9 in the league in the face, and then there you go. You got to make a run in the SEC tournament. How deep can you go will depend on where you land in the postseason.
It stinks just from an outsider's perspective, because what we were talking about last week, had they won that game, Lenardi had said before the game, had they won the game, South Carolina, that they would be into the in contention conversation.
Mhm.
That was part of our line of thinking most of the week, and they would have been. Especially with the way Saturday unfolded, it would have just added another part of that, and they would have been included in that conversation, and there would have been more publicity. And instead, what happened in that first half was bad. I mean, the turnovers again came back to bite him, and it wasn't like Alabama was doing anything to force those turnovers. It wasn't the decent turnovers that Frank's been talking about. They were bad turnovers. Then you throw on the top of that Alabama was unconscious. It's like, oh God. And then you're losing bodies on the inside. And wait, how big is this snowball going to get? How big is this comeback going to have to be? I thought that fight in the second half was impressive. It showed me a lot. I was absolutely right there with you, thinking, hang on, are they going to do this? Because it was possible there for a moment. Now it's up to Auburn, right? You got to play well against Missouri, and you got to go find a way to win at Auburn, because if you don't win at Auburn, you got to go win the SEC tournament. Even if you do win at Auburn, you probably need a couple of wins. But you got to go win at Auburn, and that's not an easy thing to do. And if you didn't have your best game at Alabama, and we talked about how tough it is to play on the road in the SEC, well, now you're going to Auburn. You need a better effort. It's not just, oh, we ran into a good team. Oh, they're a really good team. They need a better effort. That needs to be their best played game of the year.
Yeah, and they already lost to Auburn at home earlier this year, 81-66. Now, this gives this Gamecock basketball team some credit. They're a different team than they were to open SEC play, and there's no question about that. But you know, who's going to the jungle and winning these days? Nobody is. So it honestly, Darren, I mean, if they're able to, I don't know what the rest of the schedule is this week in college basketball, but if they're able to win at Auburn, I mean, that'd be the shocker of the week. I would venture a guess across the nation. First and foremost is Missouri, because you lose to Missouri, literally nothing matters outside of winning the SEC tournament, which, as Mike Morgan, I think, pointed out, isn't going to happen. I think let's just have a serious, realistic conversation. Let's just be honest. Here's what I think. I think they'll beat Missouri.
Yep.
And then once they do that, they'll be 18-11, and they'll be 9-8. And then I think they'll lose to Auburn, and they'll be 18-12, 9-9, which honestly is fairly respectable in how good this league has been this year. So then it's going to matter for seeding, right? So Florida, I think right now Carolina is I believe they're the 7 seed, projected 7 seed. So if you can, you want to try to get up to that 6 seed. And then it's going to be from there. I agree with Mike Morgan. Outside of Kentucky, Tennessee, Auburn, and Arkansas, nobody else is going to win the SEC tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Like, one of those 4 is going to win it. I just don't know who. So how far can you go? You know, and that's going to be the ticket. I mean, how far can you go, Darren? Can you win 2 games and get to 20? And then who are you beating to get to 20? Because you're going to lose a game in the SEC tournament somewhere. Again, if we're having real talk here. So 20-13, does that get you in? I don't think it does. Does 21 get you in? Mm-hmm. Well, 21 might, but based on who you beat. All right. So if we're projecting this thing out, I think the best they can hope for is 20 wins, maybe 21, and the worst is 18-13, and you're sitting in the NIT.
I'll give Gamecock fans a reason to pay attention this week and next week to conference tournaments around the country. Root for the favorites. You don't want all of them, because it'll be perilous
Very
enough
true.
on that bubble. And if they're even able to get into the conversation of being on the bubble, it'll be perilous enough. Every favorite out there, root for them. You don't want any one of these conferences to have oh God, we got 2 teams in type of thing. This week, that shouldn't be a problem. It doesn't matter who wins. I don't think South Dakota State is in if they lose the league tournament, but maybe. Off the top of my head, that could be the only one this week. Next week, there could be a couple of those. So favorites. That's what you're rooting for. Favorites across the board.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. It's a great point, actually. Let's see, Darren, if you trying to play the game here again, we just have to see how it unfolds. But if you land the 6th seed, you're gonna end up getting either Vandy or Georgia. Those two teams seem. I mean, Georgia's locked into the 14, but Vanderbilt seemingly, I believe, is locked into that 11 seed. Okay, so if you get the 6, then you'll draw the winner of game 2, which is an 11-14 matchup. All right, they beat both those teams this year, so you'd like to think that they're going to have a pretty good shot at doing so again. All right, and if you do, then you would take on the 3 seed on Friday, and who the 3 seed will be, we don't know, because right now, I think the 3 seed is Kentucky, but I mean, let's remember Arkansas, Kentucky, and Tennessee are all 12-4, and Auburn's 13-3. So those are your top 4. We just don't know what it's going to look like. So, and then my point is, though, you're going to get one of those teams, and if you luck up and win one, well, then you're going to get one of the other teams in the top 4. So by virtue of winning a couple of those games, yeah, you could definitely start putting yourself in the mix if good things happen around you. But it's going to be tough.
Yeah, beat Auburn, and I think this is Craig who just said, like Mike Morgan said, who have you beat? And that's very true. We discussed that going over the schedules too. Who have you beat? You know, part of it is self-inflicted, part of it isn't, right? It's the schedule. There wasn't much you could do. But if you beat Auburn, you're going to have an opportunity against one of those teams, ideally, in the SEC tournament. And if you can win that, that's another one of those wins that's, oh, all right, this late season surge isn't fading away just because of a loss at Alabama. It doesn't mean it's all fading away. But can you get into the NCAA tournament without winning the SEC? I think so. But it's a win over Auburn and a deep run, like a run to the championship game. Otherwise, it's an SEC championship or bust.
Yep. Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, Mike's right. Who have you beat? And again, I think that goes back to a lot of what we discussed last week, and the fact that, well, you would be able to say we have beat Florida State, we have beat, but you can't say that now. Florida State. I mean, unless Florida State figures it out and wins the ACC tournament, maybe. But is that good or bad for South Carolina? It'd be good. It'd help their resume, but it's going to take a spot away because right now Florida State's not getting into the dance.
Yep.
So, I don't know that that's a good thing, really. UAB has faltered down the stretch. Georgetown has been unbelievable. Patrick Ewing is more than likely going to be out. He says he wants to be back. Well, of course he does, but it doesn't look like he's going to end up returning as a coach.
By the way, Georgetown was getting smashed by Connecticut. What was it? It was yesterday. And the final minute of that game was odd. They were down 20 or 22 or 25 or something, and the line was 11, and they ended up losing by 8 or 9 in the last minute. It was the strangest. It was a terrible beat. It was the strangest thing. Georgetown's terrible. That's just a side note.
Oh, so bad. And they're last year. Does anybody remember what happened? I mean, they won the Big East tournament.
Mm-hmm.
They had 4 days of magic and won the thing, and then they got beat in the first round promptly of the dance. But this is his 4th or 5th year, and it really hasn't gone well. They've been in the postseason twice. They lost in the NIT, the first round one. He's never won a postseason game. I don't know that he's ever been above 500 in the league. I mean, it's nothing close to what they expected when they hired Patrick Ewing. Let's just put it that way. So
he's got to be gone. I mean, there's no. He even almost acknowledged that, basically coming out this weekend and saying, "I'd like to be back, but powers that be got to do what they got to do."
Yeah,
I mean,
you got to do what you got to do, man.
Yeah.
You got to do what you got to do. So Carolina didn't do that this weekend, and again, yeah, hey, Darren, this conversation would be a little bit differently had they pulled one of those. Bama, one of the two against Tennessee. Had they beaten, a Kentucky or an Auburn or an Arkansas, if they had one, it'd be a different story, but they don't. And this goes back to what we talked about a few weeks ago. This final month of basketball is going to be prove it time for Carolina. That's it. It's going to be the most honest moment you could ask for. Are you good enough or not? And they've been good enough to beat a lot of not so good teams. They've been good enough to beat a lot of good teams. and then they haven't been good enough to beat the great teams thus far. And that's just kind of where they are. So they're going to figure it out here at the end if they want to have a chance.
It's an interesting position from my standpoint, knowing like I'm a Penn State grad, so I'm a Penn State fan, and watching Penn State's basketball program flounder my entire fandom of 20 something years. And then at least Carolina's in the discussion. Last year, throw it out, but they've been around the discussion. They're playing themselves, at least locally here, back into a discussion. They're not this irrelevant team that Georgetown, a power program, historically relevant program, and they're not the cellar dweller that Georgetown, or the laughing stock that Georgetown is. They're relevant. They're not an easy out, particularly if you go to South Carolina and play them. That's a conversation we could very well be circling back to in a couple of weeks, because we could be getting back into that. What now? And that's, to me, for someone who's watching Nebraska win by 8,000 on Penn State's court last night, thinking that, at least you're relevant, right? To a degree.
No question about that. 12:26 on a Monday afternoon. Wes Mitchell's coming up here in just a moment. Again, Darren, a wild weekend in hoops. 7 top 10 teams lose. The top 6 and 9th-ranked Texas Tech. The common theme in all those, they were all on the road. Every one of them was on the road. And it goes back to Darren's point that he made on Friday about how good teams have been at home this year. I know a lot of that conversation had to do with the SEC, but largely around the country, the better teams are really, really, really hard to beat at home. And you saw it at St. Mary's, Colorado, Tennessee, Michigan State, Baylor, Arkansas, and TCU. All of those teams, Darren, they're all, although these were all considered quote unquote upsets based on ranking, even though the 2 SEC teams I know of, they were actually home favorites, even though they weren't ranked as high as their opponents. But all of those teams that won are in the tournament. Maybe the only one that isn't to this point is Colorado, and they're fighting to get in. But it's going to help them. The Colorado's 19-10, 11-8 in the Pac-12,
and playing well. That was a huge win for Colorado. That goes to my point about the tournament this year a little bit. There are the top portion, guys names they'll be duking it out, and there'll be a couple that pop up. They're early on, sure, we're going to see some of the upsets we always do, but that's where the parity is this year, and that's the strange thing about Saturday. The headline is top 6 lose. The headline of the weekend is 7 top 10 go down, but the reality of that is doesn't really matter much. It might change who might be a number 1 seed. It might tweak the seeding a little bit. Doesn't really matter that much. All of those teams are power, stout teams, really, like you said, with the exception, although they're playing better, of Colorado. They still have a lot of work to do to get into the tournament.
Yeah, I guess I will say this. TCU probably cemented themselves, not cemented themselves, but at least laid the foundation to be, like today, they're probably in. They could play themselves out, but as opposed to having to play their way in down the stretch, they've now done it. Now it's more about playing themselves out or just staying in.
Yeah, that's
that's what I mean. It probably just changed the narrative on TCU a little bit. But.
Yeah. Jamie Dixon, by the way, former Pitt coach, is the one who's there and doing a good job.
Doing a great job, no doubt about it. Great jobs this weekend in college baseball. Carolina swept George Washington. Clemson swept Hartford. College of Charleston swept Siena. The Citadel took 2 of 3 from Villanova. Some of the notable results from the state this weekend. We're obviously going to talk to Scott Wingo in a little bit about the Gamecock sweep of George Washington. I went down to the Citadel on Saturday to watch the Dogs play, take my kids. That Villanova team's pretty good. And that guy that they started on, I can't remember what his name was, but I was talking to Blake Cooper about him after the game. He's a dude. He was 92 to 94, and he had a sweet little slider and a nasty little change. I mean, he's good. I think he was a transfer from like Seton Hall or something like that, if I remember correctly. That Villanova Citadel had that's a good series win for them this weekend. I didn't realize Villanova had the team that they did coming in. Just goes to show you college baseball, you just never know. So congrats to the Dogs. It's been a really good start for the Citadel. I think they're now
1 loss.
6-1 or 7-1, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
So it's been a good start for the Citadel. So congratulations to them. All right. Oh, and I had to mention this. How about this Tommy Smith cat? Have you seen this dude? They're calling him Tommy Tanks.
Yes.
From NC State.
Yep.
Dude's got 9 jacks and 29 ribbies already. He's had a season, Darren, in 9 games, 9 homes and 29 RBI.
I think it was a home. It might still be true, but there was at least a home run in every game because Trey Turner, who obviously Nationals, now he's out with the Dodgers. He's an NC State guy. He played at NC State. So on social media, Turner went at him like, I got to learn this home run every day type of thing that you got going on.
Yeah, it was it's amazing. And NC State went 5-0 last week by scores of 18-3, 19-3, 10-4, 12-10, 16-4. They scored 75 runs in 5 games. And Tommy Tanks is leading the way. They've played 8 games this year. He's hit 9 home runs. 9 home runs in 8 games with 29 ribbies. This is ridiculous.
What's better, 9 home runs in 8 games or the nickname Tommy Tanks?
Dude.
Like that's strong.
I don't know, but he's got an NIL deal somewhere close. I mean, I'd have T-shirts printed up left and right of Tommy Tanks.
Mm-hmm.
You better do it now because he's going to hit a slump. It's baseball. It's going to happen. So while you're hitting all these jacks, you better start selling some shirts because when it falls off, it's kind of similar to what Wes Clark did last year to start out for South Carolina.
Bingo.
So this guy is killing it. All right, got to hit a timeout. Wes Mitchell will drop in. We do have some Gamecock football to get to. How about that? Here in February, they're ready to crank up spring practice in a couple of weeks. We'll get Wes in, then Scott Wingo and Gene Sapakoff follow here on the JB and Goldwater Show.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity finance to new loan, subject to lender approval.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work. And 2 others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
Motley Rice LLC is a law firm with international reach, but it hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for people harmed by products including asbestos and talc exposure, medical drugs and devices, and also catastrophic injuries and auto recalls, including dangerous Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. Visit motleyrice.com. Thank you, Motley Rice, for supporting the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
Okay, what's going on today, huh? Anything to talk about?
All right, greetings and a good Monday afternoon. Greetings and a good Tuesday afternoon. Greetings and a good Wednesday afternoon, and welcome aboard. All right, greetings and a good Thursday afternoon. Greetings and a good Friday afternoon, and welcome aboard. Final day of February. Welcome back to JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice. Gamecock Central's Wes Mitchell. We gave him the week off last week, but he's back to join us in February. And we're so happy to see him. Hey, bud.
How we doing, guys?
Oh, we are fantastic. A little chilly today. A little chilly, especially after last week. But sorry. My grass is getting green.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. It's awesome. I walked outside. I went to put the Scott's, the fertilizer that I do every year around this time. And I went out yesterday. I started looking around and said, well, damn, there's green grass coming in. It's fantastic. It's going to be a good spring. How about your grass, Wes? How's your grass doing?
It needs to be cut, man. You know, you got that little stretch where you don't have to cut your grass, and but all I mean, you know, South Carolina weather, like we're in fake spring, I think, for a couple of days last week. It's going to be fake spring again, I think, later this week. So, yeah, my grass. When I was looking at it yesterday, I was kind of thinking, it wasn't the reaction you had. It was more like, I need to go cut my grass.
Well, I cut mine Saturday morning because the weeds were coming through, and I can't handle all that crap. So, yeah, you're right. By the way, on the whole fake spring thing, how about this? I can't remember the last time. This can't be true.
It's warming up this week, if that's what you're looking at. It's going to get warm towards the end of this week.
For the Clemson-Carolina series, the high Friday is 75. That game's in Columbia. The high Saturday, also in Columbia at Segra Park, is 82.
Mm-hmm.
And the high Sunday is not – the game's not in Columbia, but the high in Columbia Sunday is 87. But they're going to play in Clemson on Sunday, and the high is 79. That is – Monty and King, they better cherish this. That's never happened. It's usually like 40 degrees when these two teams play.
Well, I mean, even the opening weekend – last week, warm. It felt great outside, and I was like, man, y'all better enjoy this, because I can remember a lot of early season games where it's just miserable. Matter of fact, I remember there was a Carolina Clemson game. I think it was the one where Carolina went down maybe 4 or 5-0 early on, and then I think Griner hit a grand slam.
Yeah.
I don't remember what year that was, man, but I remember it was just absolutely miserably cold out there. So not baseball weather at all, but this, you could get used to this, huh?
Oh, no kidding. I for whatever reason, I remember so many moments at the Sarge when it was scorching hot, but I remember more cold moments at Founders Park. I don't know. I can't figure it out, but that's the way it is. That series coming up this weekend. It is, I often say, the best rivalry in college baseball. It is definitely one of the two best rivalries in college baseball. I'll tell you what the other one is here in just a little while. So Scott Wingo is coming up next, and we're going to talk to him about that and much more. Wes, it's probably been a while, Darren, since we've talked some Gamecock football around here. There's not a lot been going. Matter of fact, the last time we had a real conversation about Carolina football was with Coach Beamer, I think the week before last. Since then, all has been quiet on the garnet and black front, but that will be cranking up soon with spring practice set to go. What are you learning, Wes? They obviously have been going through workouts, and a lot of the transfers are on campus now, as we know. Spencer Rattler's got a new ride, so that was neat to see. Beautiful color, that garnet. But he's been in there with Luke Doty and these quarterbacks. What's the room look like? How are they getting along?
Yeah, it's been good. I would say, from what I've heard, all the transfers so far, their names have sort of been popping up as being impressive. And, you look, Austin Stogner's the only one that's not, on campus yet as far as starting spring semester. And he's the only one that's not going to be able to go through spring practice. So, that's been good for those guys to go ahead and get in. And QB room has been great. I think whenever you have a guy like Luke Doty, who sort of is now strangely kind of was the old man of the group, once Zeb transitioned back to being a coach. And, Doty has opened Spencer Rattler in with open arms and just is a is a leader of that group, but the type of guy that wasn't going to, pout that a high profile quarterback was coming in. You always hope that's the way your guys will handle it, if you're Shane Beamer, but let's be honest, this is, this transfer portal era of college football. There were a lot of people online speculating, well, is Luke Doty going to leave? And, some people just throwing that out there. Oh, he's probably going to leave with no actual basis behind that. And, Doty's going to stick it out. He's going to compete, but also he has welcomed Rattler in, and those two have hit it off. The whole quarterback room has really hit it off early on, which obviously is a good sign, but it goes beyond that. I keep hearing Antoine Wells Jr.'s name come up. I keep hearing Christian Beal Smith come up, Devontae Reed. They're not obviously practicing yet, but right now you can, if you're the strength staff, you can get a good vibe already on how these guys are going to fit in from what's going on in there. And this is that grind time for the guys. It's not really, other than a few Twitter videos here and there, a lot of it's not public. Fans don't necessarily see what all is going on, but a very busy time for them. They have workouts every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday in the morning. And then they have competitive toughness sort of matchups every Tuesday and Thursday night. So it's really a busy time for the guys right now.
If you're Doty, can't you look at this and say, hang on, I wasn't really healthy last year. I could really potentially learn a lot this year with a guy who might only be here for a year and then be better suited next year anyway. I mean, wouldn't that be the attitude that he could take and might be taking?
Yeah, no, I think if you're Doty, if you don't win the job, that's the attitude I think you take. I think if you're Doty right now, you're saying, I'm going to help this guy every way I can, but also I'm going to fight for my position.
Yeah.
I don't think you're conceding anything, but I think in the big picture, if that's what ends up happening, I think certainly there are a lot of positives there, because here's the thing. Luke was injured his senior year of high school, so he missed some really what would have been great experience for him down the stretch there. He missed he actually played receiver as a sophomore in high school. And so when Luke Doty came in, a lot of it was based on upside and just seeing all the natural athletic ability, natural arm, accurate passer, smart kid, worker, leader, all those things. But then he comes in. Guess what? We're going to play you at wide receiver for some reason for the first quarter of your freshman year. Then guess what? Throwing you to the Wolves halfway through the Missouri game as a true freshman. And then you're playing hurt as a true sophomore. Ultimately, ends up having to have season-ending surgery. Guess what? You're also in a brand new scheme every single year you've been at South Carolina. So this whole thing of just, Luke Doty doesn't have it, that I've seen from a portion of the fan base is getting way ahead of themselves, in my opinion. I think in long term, yes, if Rattler comes in, he wins the job, he starts, which is certainly that is what you would expect to happen. Then there are a lot of positives here for Luke Doty.
I mean, Luke Doty's not stupid. I mean, he gets it. I mean, if Rattler comes in here and plays really well, Wes, I mean, the maximum this cat's going to be around is 2 years, but we all know what we're staring in the face here. I mean, you're hoping he comes in and has the year that you want him to have, and then if he does, more than likely he's off to the NFL. And Luke has not been in any hurry. I think that's what's been so impressive about him. And I've asked, a couple of, my contacts up there, and they're like, he's not in a hurry. Like he's not what you would like, what everybody else is in the world. Well, we got to see how good this guy's going to be. Oh, he's not any good. All right, let's get rid of him and get the next guy. Or like a lot of these kids, well, I'm not playing. I'm going to transfer and leave. He's not in a hurry. Like this is all a process to him. He shows up ready to work every day, and he knows that if he does things hard, does them the right way, and all those types of things, this is going to play itself out. And I think that's like almost like the old school way of doing things, Wes. Like you're going to go compete and you're going to let it work itself out the way that it's supposed to. I mean, that's just not the way the world works anymore. But Luke Doty has found a way to slow his world down.
He has, and I think a big part of it is he is extremely happy at South Carolina, and I don't just say that blindly. I've been told that he's happy overall within the context of football and outside of the context of football. He is happy. South Carolina is where he wants to be. He wants to fight it out and compete on the field. He's made some really good, probably lifetime friends at South Carolina as well that are on that roster too. And, it has not gone, obviously, with the big injury last year, it has not gone the way I'm sure he envisioned it on the field. But as far as everything else involved, the kid is happy. There's something to be said for being happy where you are and, for enjoying sort of keeping your feet where they are, so to speak, and sort of just going from there. And I think, no one really would have even blamed Luke if he was just like, you know what, I'm just going to go somewhere I got a better chance, where I feel like a better chance to play. And I think he just shook his hand and said, man, Luke gave everything he had while he was at South Carolina. Wish you all the best, but that is not the approach he has taken. And, you certainly kind of, I think, appreciate all the more how he carries himself, just the genuineness you get from Luke whenever he speaks about these things, and just a great all around dude on and off the field.
Wes Mitchell, Gamecock Central. We're about to have the same conversation because DeCarrion Joyner is in a very similar spot. And, Wes, a couple of weeks ago, whenever we talked to Coach Beamer, I just straight up asked him, what are you doing with this dude? What? And he told us, he didn't really answer the question, but he said that he asked him, well, what do you want to do? And I don't know that he expanded.
I don't think he told you what
the answer was.
DK's answer was.
No, he didn't. So let me ask you though, it doesn't really matter what you think because you're not the head coach at South Carolina. It doesn't matter what I think or what John Smith thinks on in the message boards, but we've seen him play for a long time, Wes. We watched him play in high school. We've watched him play at South Carolina in different roles. And we certainly saw him capitalize on the opportunity in the bowl game. What do you think his future should be in a Gamecock uniform? If he's at South Carolina, what do you think that future should look like?
Yeah, Beamer didn't really answer the question, but I kind of think in not answering the question, he did give us some maybe hints there in that I think it's an ever evolving role. I think Joyner is kind of what Joyner's role is whatever it kind of needs to be on a week-to-week basis. Against North Carolina, the role was quarterback and not Wildcat quarterback. It was go be the quarterback. And there may be a time,
yes, it was,
that ends up being the case again. There may be a game. Some guys may be banged up, maybe a matchup situation. You want to have him ready for those situations, right? He is a very, as Beamer did expound on, he is a very valuable member to their special teams. That's something that often gets overlooked by fans, but I promise you, does not get overlooked by Pete Limbo or Shane Beamer, obviously. And then I think my question is how much can he continue to come along at wide receiver? Because we saw flashes here and there. I think my big takeaway from last year was when DeCarrion when you can get him the football in space, that playmaking ability we all saw in high school is still there. It still does translate. I think playing without the football in his hands has been maybe the most difficult part of the process for him, that just consistently getting open, catching the football consistently. But then we've seen him make some really nice catches as well. So I think that will be the part I'll be most interested to see now that you have a year under your belt at wide receiver. And now that you are going to get to go through another spring, you're in this offense again, you're more and more comfortable in the terminology and everything that's going to be asked of you in it. How much does the role expand at wide receiver? How much does Amarian Brown push for playing time at that slot wide receiver spot? All those things are sort of, I believe, tied together And all those variables are kind of going to, I guess, push this thing in one direction or the other as far as what his exact role is going to be this coming season.
Yeah, I think it's so interesting because I really believe that South Carolina needs a good number 2 at quarterback. I mean, you have to have that in the SEC. Even, nobody's projecting anything serious happen to Spencer Rattler, but even if it's for a series, if it's for a quarter, if it's for a play, I mean, you can't give anything away in this league. So you got to have somebody who can get in there and get it done. And, I guess everybody probably hopes that that'll be Luke Doty, but you never know. I mean, it'll be. I can't remember a time, Wes, and I guess it's just how the sport's changing and evolving. But I don't know that I remember a time, and maybe you've got more of a much better memory than I do on some of this, where there have been a handful of players in a uniform at Carolina, at least, that you don't really know what their roles are going to be. Like generally, it's like, well, these are your wide receivers and these are your running backs, and these. I mean, Jaheim Bell. I mean, you could literally line him at 3 different positions. To carry on Joyner, you can line him up at 2 or 3 different positions, and they've got some other guys that are in very similar roles where they're like, we can use this guy here, we can use this guy there, but he's also really good over here. So I'm just really anxious to see, 1, what that looks like in the spring, and 2, how the coaching staff will handle it, because you don't want to get cute, but you want to know how to use that and how to put it in your framework, but you don't want to be cute with it. And we saw cute last year. Cute doesn't work often.
Well, the funny thing about cute is that everybody loves cute when it works. And they're like, oh, that was awesome. Did you see that? They're being aggressive. And then, when it blows up in your face, then you see nobody uses the word cute when it works.
No, they use stupid.
That was they say it was creative when it works. And then when it doesn't work, it's cute, it's stupid. It's, I can't believe, they did that. When a coach stays one step ahead of the defense and adjusts just as they adjust, everybody's like, oh, he set that play up beautifully. When it doesn't work, they say, you were running the football so well. Why didn't you go play action? Why did you, and again, I'm not defending the one play coming to everyone's mind right now. The defensive end.
Oh, come on.
Pass at the goal line. I will not defend that one. But
that wasn't cute and brilliant.
That was in general though. We seriously, do we not all want to see the double reverse flea flicker pass? And and then when it blows up, you're like, what the, Yeah. So I get it. I get it. I think the key, especially with guys like Jaheim Bell, is logistically, how do you install it into your scheme to where it's kind of seamless? Like, when Jaheim Bell is split out, he's really, if you peel everything away, he's like a slot receiver, right? Mm-hmm. But he's in the tight end room. Then there's times where he's going to kind of be at an H-back role. There's times when he was playing true running back. So how do you seamlessly put that into your scheme without having to ask Jaheim Bell to literally learn 3 positions? But then how do you also make it to where you're not telling your opponent exactly what you're doing? You can't just put him in the backfield and then be like, well, they're definitely handing it off because Jaheim's in the backfield. So you have to find a way to include it within the regular structure of your offense while keeping it simple for the player. I think that's the biggest hurdle for a staff with a situation like this. And again, it's easy to say, play this guy here. But then if you're not executing, people say, well, why aren't you executing well? These guys look like they don't know the plays. Well, sometimes because you try to do too much. So you're constantly walking a wire on whether to do too much or whether you're doing not enough.
Except for when you send a defensive end in the game. Then it's, all right, guard the goal line. He's going to throw it. That was not cute or creative. It was just stupid. But never.
It was, as a non-fan, it was kind of funny. I did laugh.
Oh, I would have laughed if I wasn't pulling for somebody. I would have been like, "What on planet Earth?"
That's exactly what it was.
going
Yes.
down here. All right, real quick, Wes. Who's turning heads of the newcomers? Who's turning heads? Most talked about newcomer.
Well, I mean, Rattler.
Outside of Rattler, we know that. Everybody
give me Antoine Wells, man. I mean, everybody's talking about him. Everybody's talking about Christian Beal-Smith. Running back battle is going to be fun to watch.
Yeah, it is.
I have this gut feeling that Christian Beal-Smith may be like the first guy on the field. Like he may be the starter. Starter doesn't always mean everything at running back. Obviously, there's so much rotation, how you play in the game. We saw it last year. How many different starters were there? But I just have this feeling that the things that people say about Christian Beal-Smith, he's mature. He's experienced. He's a grinder. He's a playbook. He's one of these guys that's always in the playbook. I think DeMarco told the story on y'all's show how he was like, "Hey, give me a playbook." And they were like, "It's not ready yet." And he's like, "Well, give me one anyway." Everything I just described are the things that coaches are looking for when they're deciding who they're going to play, because all those things equal trust.
Mm-hmm.
And we, media, fans, whatever, we like the flash. We like the big plays. Coaches are inherently worried when they roll that guy out there and they lose control, right? They want the guy that's going to run the direction that the play says for them to run. Because when they don't, it makes the coaches look bad. So everything you hear about Christian Beal-Smith, those are all things that lead to building trust with a coach as far as who he plays. And so I just have this gut feeling, if he's healthy, all things being equal, that Christian Beal-Smith is going to be the first guy to run out there at running back this year. And that's without even seeing spring practice. So do we really know? Of course not. But I will say this, if Marshawn Lloyd beats out all of the things I just said, then that means the dynamic former 5-star, the guy that everyone was so hyped about version of Marshawn Lloyd has appeared for the Gamecocks. And that would be a fantastic sign for this offense.
Good point.
Bud Kilmer would love Christian Beal-Smith. Do what I say. All right. Combine starts tomorrow. JJ Enagbari, Zaquandre White, Kevin Harris, the only 3 Gamecocks invited. I'm seeing JJ in the second round. Those other guys, running backs, are a dime a dozen, Wes. So they'll go, but we don't know where they'll go. Probably mid to lower. JJ seemingly has been projected in the second round. This is a huge week for him, because I don't know that people know yet who JJ Enagbari is. And then when they see him, and let's see how he grades out, how high, I mean, can he jump into the first round this week with a great combine?
You know, he could. I think ultimately second round is probably just, watching him play for as long as we have. That's probably where I would personally put him. All it takes is one, right? All it takes is one team to fall in love with you. There is certainly a bit of a track record at South Carolina, even over multiple different coaching staffs, of defensive linemen coming through and being high draft picks. So that probably helps him. The fact that he went to Mobile to the Reese's game and did well throughout that week, that helps. He will interview well, I believe. He's a guy that will do well in that setting too. The measurables should be there. So it's going to depend on scheme fit and all that. What are the needs? What are the needs of the teams at the end of the first round, the beginning of the second? All that stuff will probably end up being what decides it. But I personally, right now, I don't know. I would say mid-second is where I sort of just have him slotted in my mind.
He's a hell of a prospect. He's gonna play a while. Whoever gets him is going to be lucky to have him. Final question is a hoops question. Carolina at 17-11. Wes, they need to win blank number of games between now and the SEC tournament to make the dance.
Between now and the SEC tournament,
combined. Regular season,
including 4 games. 4 or 5. I mean, they need to shock the world and beat Auburn, honestly, at this point. Yeah. That's what needs to happen.
Yeah.
I
agree.
4.
I don't see him winning nobody's going to win. Mike Morgan hit the nail on the head on Friday with us. If your name's not Auburn, Tennessee, Arkansas, or Kentucky, you ain't winning the SEC tournament. So,
so maybe 4 because that would include a win over Auburn in that scenario.
Yep. Or yeah.
You're at least.
I mean, you have to have a huge win somewhere. It has to be somewhere
at that point.
Hey, look, they've put themselves in a spot where we can have some fun talking about it. Maybe most people don't believe what we're saying, which is totally understandable. I get it. It's hard to believe it until you see it. But at least we can talk about it. At least they're not, 10 and 20.
Darren, you got some lunch for us, buddy?
I mean, it's when the daughter is home sick, but not completely sick, just getting over it. And then there's a Chick-fil-A run. I got a spicy chicken sandwich sitting here.
Excuse us. Golly, we got to get a break here. All right, Wes. Did I miss anything? What you got coming up this week on Gamecock Central?
Actually, if you're a recruiting person like me, we'll have plenty from that Under Armour camp. I was there in Atlanta yesterday. So lots of stuff coming from that as well. If you're into that stuff.
Okay, well, I'm glad we didn't spoil it today. I didn't even realize you were there. I bet it was a little chilly over there this weekend.
Dude, it was raining. Oh my gosh, it rained like the entire camp. So that part was fun, but we got through it.
Well, I look forward to reading that. Carolina's in on a lot of big-time 2023 prospects, a lot of them, and I'm really excited to follow this. So I'll be refreshing constantly throughout the week. Thanks, Wes. Have a wonderful week. Enjoy some Gamecock baseball this week. Best rivalry in the country starts on Friday.
All right, guys. You have a good one, okay?
Later, man.
Wes Mitchell with Gamecock Central. Speaking of which, it's time for a timeout. When we return, this guy knows a little something about playing Clemson. Scott Wingo joins us right here on the JB and Goldwater Show. Our backyard is Motley Rice LLC, a law firm that hasn't lost its Carolina roots. The Motley Rice team fights every day for South Carolinians who were injured while traveling by plane or bus, harmed by medical drugs and devices, or burdened by dangerous auto recalls, including Takata airbags. Motley Rice is headquartered in Mount Pleasant at 28 Bridgeside Boulevard. We are honored to have Motley Rice as a sponsor for the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show.
At Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum, families walk in the footsteps of our nation's heroes, the brave ones who risked their lives to defend our way of life. Home to the aircraft carrier USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, and the USS Clamagore, there's more than 1 million square feet of exhibit space to roam. White Glove certified, we have several new health safety measures in place to enhance the visitor experience. Come for the day and leave feeling inspired. One of the most impressive museums in the country, located right here in Mount Pleasant. Visit patriotspoint.org for more. We'll see you soon.
People don't like to get stuck in traffic, stuck in the mud, stuck at work, and to others you probably don't think much about, stuck with a big medical bill or stuck with a healthcare program that doesn't fit who you are. Experience true medical freedom with Share Healthcare. More affordable, more options, user-friendly, and biblically sound. You can join right now. Explore a new way to show you care with Share Healthcare. Join us today at sharehealthcare.com. sharehealthcare.com.
This is Scott Glaze, head golf professional at the Links at Stono Ferry, located on the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina. I'm inviting you to tee it up on one of the most scenic and challenging courses in the Lowcountry. Our back nine is highlighted with 3 holes that border the Intercoastal Waterway. Visit stonoferrygolf.com to book tee times and discover all that Stono Ferry has to offer. The Links at Stono Ferry is a former South Carolina Golf Course of the Year and is also home to the College of Charleston men's and women's golf teams. Come see us. We would love to have you. stonoferrygolf.com.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
Hi, I'm Chris Half, Public Information Officer at the Patriots Point Naval and Maritime Museum. We're home of the mighty USS Yorktown, USS Laffey, Clamagore, and Vietnam experience. and we're a proud partner of the JB and Goldwater Show. We invite you and your family to come see us and enjoy a day on Charleston Harbor. Visit patriotspoint.org for more information. And now, it is my honor to present the national anthem.
Live, loud, and online.
All right, final hour on the final day of the month of February. Welcome back to the JB and Goldwater Show, presented by Motley Rice. Causes, not just cases. MotleyRice.com and driven by Stokes Volkswagen, StokesVW.com. Gene Sapakoff is coming up in just a little bit. Thanks to Wes Mitchell for joining us in that last segment. But now to our, we got to name this thing. It's one of our new favorite segments every week with South Carolina baseball assistant coach and former national well, he'll always be a national champion, former All-American, Scott Wingo. Hey, man, what are we going to name this? Like walk-offs with Wingo or something?
Hey, you said All-American. I don't know if I ever got to be an All-American now. Billy Anderson said that. I think I was All SEC. I don't know about All-American.
You were an All-American in my book.
Maybe that's what we name it. Should have been All-American with Wingo.
Yeah.
I'm good with that. Hey, y'all call it. I'll just stamp it if I like it.
Dude, well, hey, look, I got to give you a major shout out here because promptly last Monday. All right, so I thought it was pretty funny. You were right, but I thought it was pretty funny because we've never talked to anybody on this show about a lack of HBPs. And you mentioned last week, hey, our guys, you got to quit dipping out of the way of pitches and stuff. And then on Tuesday night against Winthrop, I'm listening to Tommy call it on the radio, and he said 3 or 4 different times, now our guys keep moving out of the way of the ball. They got to get hit by the ball. I thought, man, Scott Wingo's probably going crazy down there at third base. I mean, what's going on here? Why aren't we standing in there and just taking one for the team, man?
Hey, I'll say this though. I don't know if you remember this, but remember Wimmer? He wore it on the elbow.
Oh,
next batter, Eister. See ya. Granny.
Yeah,
remember that?
Yeah. Yep. So again,
we're working on it. You're right. As me as a player, I had that little the little twitch factor these guys, some of these players do. I just didn't have it. Probably from backyard baseball getting pegged about 700 times. But.
By your brothers.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, hey, look, you won this weekend, Scott. And you guys, I think, walked 24 times. You swung it well. I mean, y'all scored a bunch of runs last week. We'll get to Clemson in just a little bit and all that, but just talk to me about the offense. Your guys are. I like this group, Scotty. I mean, they can do a bunch of different things, but it's early in the year, so you're going to work through some kinks. But what do you like so far about these dudes through 7 games and what they bring to the plate?
Yeah, offensively, I mean, it's good to see. We got more walks and strikeouts.
Yeah,
got some guys that new, some new guys that gotten in there and swung the bat well this weekend. I know, freshman Carson Horning got in there this weekend, and man, he looked pretty good. He's always had a great eye. He's got, I want to say 5 walks on the season, and hadn't had many plate appearances. So he's a guy that it was good to see him get in there, and offensively, I mean, we just we're some tough outs. 1 to 9. I like where we're at. And guys, like we talked about, hit by pitches. We'll get that thing up there because we're a team that we're gonna move the ball and hopefully hit and run, bunt, do it all.
Yeah.
So excited to play in Charlotte tomorrow night, man. That stadium is awesome. I know you guys have probably been there, but
oh yeah,
it's a pretty cool deal getting on that field.
Yeah, it is. That's going to be. You got App State coming up tomorrow night, and you're getting Eister's off to a hot start. I don't know if anybody expected him to be hitting 500 at this point in time, but everybody's certainly expected him to swing the sticks. Wimmer's up there in the 460s. And then you got some of these new guys. Braswell obviously is off to a really good start as a freshman, Scott, and we'll get more into him in just a minute. And then we finally got to see Cole Messina. I know everybody's been waiting on him to get on the diamond, and he's struggled a little bit to get going, but at least he's back in the lineup. Let me ask you this. Why did Coach King put him in the leadoff spot? Is that just to try to get him as many of it bats as they can? What was the purpose behind that?
Yeah, well, Messina, he came off a little injury, and for me, I mean, Cole's got great bat speed, and he's just a winner, tough kid, and just put him in that leadoff spot, just threw him in there, and I like it. I think the kid's a grinder, and obviously we got a couple pieces, couple bats on our team that can swing it. So, but yeah, just good to see him get back in there, get his feet wet, and put him in that leadoff spot. I know he didn't have the weekend he wanted to have, but that's fine. I mean, he's a freshman, and it's good for him to just get out there and see some pitches.
Absolutely. Well, freshman, the other side of that coin is what Michael Braswell's doing, man. He's off to an incredible start in his career. He's 12 of his first 28. He's hitting 430. He's come in and closed a couple of games. He's playing short. I mean, this cat right now, I think he's got an NIL deal with Rock Nation or something all of a sudden.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, this cat's living the dream early on, Scotty, but you've been there. You know what it's like to be a freshman. You're going to have highs. You're going to have lows. But where is he at right now in his head space and how he's handling the day-to-day grind as a freshman in this league on this team?
Yes, sir. He does a good job. Braswell does a good job of just showing up every day. Even in the fall, he'd want to come work every single day, early ground balls. I mean, there's a little bit of a switch there when it's time to compete, time to fight in that box. Some of his takes, you always, people go into struggles, but, his takes, he's got a very good eye at the plate. For me, a lot of times when a guy goes into a slump, is he swinging at bad pitches? And I think most of the case, that's the case. Guys start swinging out of the zone, but he does a pretty good job of staying in the zone. So for me right now, he's playing the game hard, playing the game the right way, and he just goes out there and has fun and competes. And there's a difference. You can go out there and just have fun and not do well, but he's absolutely, I mean, he's fighting you when he's in the box, and he's obviously trying to make every play he can. And shoot, when he gets on that mound, he does the same thing. It's pretty special seeing him on the mound right now. But so far, man, Braswell's been a heck of a player, and I look forward to working with him the rest of the way.
Scott Wingo with the Gamecocks 113 on a Monday afternoon. So the combined hit totals between your middle infielders, Scotty, Wimmer and Braswell, how about this to start the year? 26 of 58 at the plate. That's about a 450 batting average between those two. Now, are you is it you that's primarily working with them day in and day out, like out defensively in the middle infield? Is that you?
No, it's Coach Kaye, Kingston as well. I'm the outfield coach, but I do assist with those infielders. Yeah. And it's pretty cool. Coach Kaye and Coach Kingston, they give me some reins to work with the guys, but everybody kind of does their part. But it's just pretty cool to be able to get to work with them. Some coaches kind of get in there and that's their baby, if you will, and you kind of just got to stick in your area. But it's pretty cool that they let me work with them, and especially like early work and stuff like that. I really enjoy doing that stuff. That's kind of for me. You got to practice. You can go out there and play games all you want, but you got to fine tune those skills and practice and perfect them. So when the game comes, it's just you're going out there having some fun and going to compete. So yeah, I enjoy doing it and enjoy working with them, man. They both of those guys, both of them, when they get out there, they're open ears, they listen, and they apply it. So through about 7 games so far, they've done a heck of a job so far.
Yeah, I mean, obviously there's a long ways to go, but I mean, as we alluded to last week, I mean, your career, you played with the best of the best. You played with Reese, you played with Bobby, you played with Peter, and the one constant in all that was you. You were there every year as probably at that point in time the best second baseman in the league, if not the country, really. But Scotty, you got to have some type of rapport out there, right? You gotta be able to read each other. You got to be able to read each other's minds. You got to be able to anticipate. All that stuff goes into being a tandem, really good one in the middle infield, especially as the year goes on and things get tougher, which they're about to get real tough coming up here in the next few days. So what do you see when you see these two working together? Braswell, kind of the new guy, even though he's been around for a few months. Wimmer, the seasoned vet. He's a tall dude at second, too. What do you see when you watch those guys work together, and how does it click?
Well, the beautiful thing about baseball is you're always trying to figure it out. Like even if, we be 55 games in, we're still trying to get better, and I think that's where that'll be the case. They're always going to try to get more and more comfortable with each other. We go and hit them ground balls and, have those guys working together. But you're right. I mean, that takes a while to try to hopefully get close to perfecting that chemistry, and especially some of those balls up the middle and stuff like that. Yeah, you definitely can see it, and those guys will be able to feel it the more time goes on. But yeah, that's always a work in progress until you get close to having that. Those guys in the big leagues, man, they play 162 games, and those guys really get comfortable with each other after what? I don't know, 80, maybe even a full season or two. I don't know, but yeah, but those guys have continued to work, and so far, man, those guys have been playing the right way, taking that thing personal. I know Wimmer, man, he's worked his tail off as well as Braswell, but and not to mention Kevin Madden over there just sticking his nose in there and making some great plays. So it's infield defense, so far has stepped up and came to play, man. They're taking that stuff personal, and it's good to see.
Dude, Kevin Madden, I'm glad you mentioned that. I'm just going to make a bold statement here. This kid's good. I mean, watching him play third, there's been a lot of really good third basemen come through Columbia, South Carolina. Wingo, this guy can play, man.
Yes, sir. Defensively, he's very good. He's very good, man, and he'll show that rocket launcher every once in a while when he needs to use it. But yeah, Kevin Madden plays hard, plays the right way. Feel like he's coming here as a transfer, but he's taking this on as this is obviously his new family, and he's to me, man, he's playing this game the right way right now, and it's pretty fun to watch.
Only 3 combined errors all year for South Carolina through 7 games. That is the Gamecock defense we're used to around here, and hopefully they'll continue to carry that along. Scott Wingo, 118 here on a Monday afternoon. All right, Scotty, so you're through George Washington, and you mentioned Charlotte tomorrow night against App State. App State is a program that's really gotten some things turned around the last couple of years. That's going to be a challenge on the road up there to try to go get that win. And as you mentioned, a beautiful, beautiful ballpark in the Queen City. And then it's Clemson. And so I don't want to jump ahead of App State, but for the sake of time here and the sake of our audience, everybody wants to talk about Clemson and South Carolina. You've been around this game a long, long time. Is there a rivalry out there that Ole Miss and Mississippi State is outstanding, and I put it right there with the Gamecocks. But describe this rivalry. You played in it a lot. Played a lot of games against Clemson up there in Columbia, Omaha. You've seen it from every angle, man. Describe it.
Yes, sir. I don't think there is. I don't think there is a bigger one. A lot of people talk about UNC Duke basketball and stuff like that, but it's tough to top it in my opinion. And just just the rivalry itself. Like you can tell from the day you get to the field, there's something in the air that's just a little bit more that day, a lot more actually. Those people get there and juices are flowing. And I'll be honest with you, a lot of fans, they just don't like each other. I mean,
Yeah.
They get to the park and some of the fans just don't like each other, and that's okay. They don't. My dad's a big Clemson fan. Played football and baseball at Clemson.
Yep.
And I used to be a Clemson fan growing up. But I always went to South Carolina camps. Grandpa was a big South Carolina. My grandpa was actually a South Carolina fan, so I saw both sides, and I'm just glad I'm on this. I'm glad I'm on the right side. You know what I mean? But yeah. Hey man, flat out, it's go time. I mean, it's two teams that same state don't like each other, and you just strap that thing on, you let it eat. That's it.
What do you tell guys in the locker room who've never played in this rivalry? How do you explain it to them?
Well, you kind of let them know the tradition. The guys before you who played here, just what this place is, and really go from there. I mean, a lot of people say, "Oh, it's just another game." Well, no, it's a little bit more. I mean, and that's fine. It's same as a playoff game or same as a regional game. It is a game in itself, but there's just a little bit more on that game. I mean, it's the same as the Clemson South Carolina football game. So it's exciting, and the good thing is the bigger games. I feel like the best players kind of rise up in those games, or the tough ones. So for me, that's good. I like knowing that. Okay, bigger game. All right, let's go. So
yeah, I'll be anxious to see how many pitches Andrew Eister sees this weekend from the Tigers, because he deflated them last year a couple of times. This has got to be unique for you though, Scott, coming into the series this weekend, because the guy that leads Clemson, although if you're a Carolina fan or you played for the Gamecocks, you don't like him, but I've known Monty Lee a long time. You've known Monty Lee a long, long time. And there's a respect factor there. Unless you know Monty, you can't describe it. He's one of the great ones in the sport, always has been, and he always will be. So it's got to be pretty unique for you. When you first got to Columbia, he was an assistant coach on staff under Coach Tanner, and I know y'all know each other really well. And now here you are coaching against each other in this series where you once were on the same side. It's got to be pretty cool for you, though.
Absolutely. Coach Lee, from the time I got here, he was awesome. I mean, I remember him, he would come in the weight room and lift with us. And obviously I was a weak little freshman, man, and he could still throw up some weight. He could still bench press. I don't even know what, man. He's throwing up over 300 and some pounds, but he was a great, great coach. I remember I was at Notre Dame last year and went and played him in Clemson. And I'm not sure if he knew I was there. I think he did, but I just went up in their dugout and said, "Hey, is Coach Lee here today?" And he said, "Wingo, what's going on?" But yeah, man, Coach Lee's a good one. Always has been. Great coach, and yeah, for sure. Yeah, getting to coach against them. Yeah, I mean, it's just, we're in the same profession, and obviously we're going to go compete and fight for our teams, and it's just but there's no doubt about it. Coach Lee is a good one. Great person, great coach, and I know he'll do some great things over there.
All right, Scott, before we let you go, we'll have a little fun with you here. Everybody, I mean, there's so many amazing moments in this rivalry over the years. You could talk all day about the Clemson South Carolina baseball series, and clearly everybody remembers what happened in Omaha when all the chips were on the table and y'all beat the brakes off of them up there in front of the whole country. But let's skip forward to the next year. How well and how vividly do you remember the whole bat warming incident when Coach Leggett was accusing the boys in Garnet for baking the bats up there at Clemson? What describe it? Like what was going on? Did you even know what was happening when all the time and we're talking about it?
Well, the bat deal. when Jackie hit Oppo bomb. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, at Clemson.
Right. Oh yeah. Well, we had a I don't know. We might have had a few bats near a heater that we had, warming us up a little bit, but that's here nor there stuff. It was a little cold outside. Some guys need to get near a heater, warm our hands up, and there might have been a few bats near it. I don't know, but I know Jackie. He hit that ball out. That's all I know.
Hey, is there anything in the rule book that says you can't stand next to a heater with a bat in your hand? I must have missed that.
Well, they might have changed that rule after our game, but we I remember it was about 40 degrees and it was cold, so we had to warm those hands up.
Well, look, Serrano did it. I mean, he had to keep his bat warm, so
yeah. They need to write. Hey, if you want that rule, you gotta have that. You gotta write that rule down for us, man.
But what about Coach Tanner? I mean, he was pissed after the game because Leggett was basically saying that y'all were cheating. And Coach, I mean, Coach Tanner inside and out, man. You can say what you could bash him all you want to bash him, but the one thing Coach Tanner never wants to be called is a cheater, and he didn't like that.
No, and he's not. He's not a cheater, obviously. Never has been. He obviously just his big thing is to do things the right way, and we wasn't a rule really. We didn't even know it was a bad thing to do. We just we went out and played baseball. Jackie hit Oppo bomb. Next thing we know is somebody's telling us their bats are hot. I'm like, all right.
Yeah, you're damn right they are. The ball's landing on the other side of the yard.
They're hot. That ball is out of the yard. They're hot, all right.
Did Coach look? I have a lot of respect for Coach Leggett and what he did as a baseball coach, Scotty. But he didn't recruit you that much, did he?
It was kind of a not saying a last minute deal, but I got offered by South Carolina, and it had been about a week or so. I'm not sure if they got word or not, but he gave me a call and gave me a little offer. And I just felt at peace with South Carolina's, one, their offer, and then two, or first of all, just the love I felt from Tanner and Toman and the coaching staff about being there. I just felt it literally. It was like I went on a visit and just felt at home. Mm-hmm. And I just followed my heart. And I remember telling my dad, I said, Dad, I'm committing to South Carolina. And he goes, okay, you sure that's what you want to do? I said, yes, sir. and that was it. It was almost like you sure? Like, I want you to double check. Like, it makes sure. Yep, I'm sure. So that was pretty cool. I remember I was with my oldest brother, Brad, at my high school field when I called South Carolina. So that was pretty cool.
Well, you got a great family, Brad and Gaston and Mr. Billy. Y'all the coolest people, man. Scott, we'll let you run. I'm sure Coach King is somewhere. Where the hell's Wingo? So you just tell him we kept you locked up for a little while, and hopefully he'll forgive you. He can yell at me about it, but
oh yeah, he's cool. We got a little practice here today. We're usually off on Mondays, but we had yesterday off as a doubleheader, so we'll go back to get after it for a little bit and get ready to play App State.
Go get them, man. We not going to pick your brain with injury updates and things like that. That's the responsibility of the head coach, and we know that Mark already spoke with the media today about that. So hopefully y'all can start getting some guys back here on the bump. We certainly know you're going to need them. For anybody that's hasn't paid attention, it's Clemson, Texas, Tennessee, and Vanderbilt. The next 4 weekend series for the Gamecocks. So it's going to crank up in a hurry, but it starts tomorrow in Charlotte against App State. Scotty, good to talk to you, my man. Thanks for omitting the 4-letter words this go around. And hopefully next Monday we got a bunch of wins to talk about.
Hey, that sounds good. Thank you guys again for having me on.
Always. There you go. Scott Wingo. We're going to come up with a good name for this segment that we're going to do on Mondays with him now, but he's one of the coolest, man. He's one of the coolest.
Part of his little commentary there, and anyone who, downloads the podcast as well, I always name him something that was said on the show. He's What's Going On with Wingo can also be a title of this.
What's going on with Wingo? Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. I'm feeling the flow.
It's out of his mouth. I mean, what's going on with Wingo?
All right. Okay. I like
it's
it.
An option.
I think we've got a graphic. I can see a graphic in the works. We'll have to figure this out. What's going on with Wingo? All right. 120.
Now I got to write it down.
Well, our bats were a little hot. Yeah, they were hot. They were hot. Well, I remember what happened there. I just wanted to see how well he would describe it.
He described it well.
Yeah, Coach Leggett was complaining about something that there was no rule against. So what? So the bats were by a heater, and they were, people wrap their bats in towels and stuff in the dugout to keep them from stinging their hands when it's cold. I mean, there's nothing against any of that. That's why Coach Tanner was like, "What are we talking about here?"
I mean, Major League, keep bats warm. It's a thing. You got to keep your bat warm. You got to love your bat.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it doesn't love you back.
Well, what that was a boiling over frustration type moment because, they got embarrassed in June for the second time in Omaha the year before. And here they are getting waxed on their home field by the Gamecocks, and pressure was up, man.
Mm-hmm.
And, Coach Tanner did a really good job standing up for his guys and basically saying, don't go down this road with us. And it all worked out. So we'll see what it looks like this weekend, though. Clemson is really, really good. I was talking to Blake Cooper on Saturday about that. They're really good, guys. And Monty deserves it. He's a great guy, and he's done it the right way up there. They've got a really good baseball team. Carolina better be careful this week, and everybody in the ACC better be careful. They're going to beat some teams, and they should beat teams. It's Clemson. Their expectations up there to win 40 games, just like they are in Columbia, South Carolina, and there's no reason for them not to be. It's a proud program, and this weekend is going to be a battle for both programs. So we'll see how it all works out. But good stuff there from Scott Wingo, as always. For those that maybe have never met Scotty, if you like hearing that, tell all your friends because he is funny and he will make you laugh. It doesn't matter how your day's going. Scott's good for the soul. That's for sure. Okay. When we return, Gene Sapakoff with the Post and Courier will pop in. We do have some Major League Baseball stuff to get to. Obviously, we're going to talk to him about this rivalry and some hoops and much more. So hang tight. The final segment of the afternoon is up next on the JB and Goldwater Show. Hopefully, you won't ever need legal help for a catastrophic injury or health issues from a medical drug or device. But if you or a loved one suffers injury or loss, Motley Rice LLC is a nationally recognized law firm that is right here in Mount Pleasant at 28 Ridgeside Boulevard. Thank you, Motley Rice, for sponsoring the JB and Goldwater Show and the Big Gamecock Preview Show. Visit motleyrice.com for more. motleyrice.com.
This is Mike Mazzell for Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate Road. You know what happens when you sell record numbers of new vehicles? That's right, we take in record numbers of local trades. Despite what the news is saying, quality pre-owned vehicles really aren't that hard to find. You just need to know where to look. Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate and on the web at stokesvw.com. We've got over 1,200 pre-owned cars, trucks, SUVs, and all at a fraction of the price when new. Every vehicle has been inspected and reconditioned, many with the balance of factory warranty. Best of all, at Stokes Volkswagen, you don't need perfect credit to get approved for a quality pre-owned vehicle. And we'll take any trade in any condition, even if you owe thousands more than it's worth. Don't forget, we'll buy your car even if you don't buy a car from us. You're going to love our pre-owned selection, I guarantee it. So come see us today at Stokes Volkswagen on Ashley Phosphate or stokesvw.com.
Peace and love at Stokes VW.
Negative trade equity financed a new loan subject to lender approval.
Wando Power Equipment, the trusted home of Hustler zero-turn residential and commercial mowers. There is nobody more trusted in South Carolina than our friends from Wando Power Equipment. They've been providing elite commercial and residential service for over 30 years. Landscape Services have turned to their selection of Hustler zero-turn mowers like the Raptor. Bigger, stronger, faster, and the most durable Raptor Hustler has ever designed. Located on Daniel Island and online at wandopower.com. Wando Power Equipment, owned by the Price family, the home of Hustler zero-turn mowers, rentals, service, and specializing in family and friendship.
Family vacations, a new car, a new boat, all cost money, but you don't necessarily have to make more to afford any of that if you can save cash that's flying out the window now. iHelp Consulting can help you finally get the kids to Disney World, upgrade the minivan, or drop that new boat in the water next summer. Let Daniel and iHelp Consulting consult with you. No fees, just savings. You pay them a percentage of those savings. Save on essential services, credit card fees, you name it. Let them find it. These folks are incredible. iHelpConsulting.com. How can I help you?
You hear me talk about Dog and Duck all the time, and there's no other place I'm going to watch my college and NFL than the Dog and Duck. They have 3 locations, Bell Hall, Park West, and Clements Ferry Road. They have specials all football season long, like $12 pitchers of their own D2 brew, $5 pints of Sierra Nevada, weekly pick'em sheets with prizes, and the best wings in town, bar none. For all your football, college, and NFL, the Dog and Duck, Clements Ferry Road, Bell Hall, and Park West.
What's up, everybody? This is South Carolina singer-songwriter Patrick Davis, and I might live in Nashville, Tennessee now, but guess what? I can always keep up with the news back in South Carolina because I've got the JB and Goldwater Show. Thank you, JB and Darren, for being live, loud, and awesome.
All right, final segment, final day. It's a chilly day on the final month of February, but have no fear. 50s are here by the end of the week. 80, of course, it will be. Patrick Davis, that was him. He's the official voice. Well, I guess he's the official voice of our program.
Totally the official. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. He'll join us later on this week as well. He's got some new shows set up. He's gonna play before the Carolina Cup up in Camden, his hometown. He's gonna come down to the Windjammers soon. He's got new music on the way. Dude's happening, man. He's cranking them out. So we're gonna get him in here. This guy's always happening. Gene Sapakoff, 8-time Sports Writer of the Year with the Post and Courier. Hey, Gene.
Just a couple things there. One, are you complaining about the weather? When I was a kid in Colorado, I had to walk to school in 3 feet of snow in the blizzard, uphill both ways. And most of that is true, except for the uphill part. And you talk about a great day, having a great day. I went to the DMV today to get my real ID.
Oh, boy.
And you know all the scary stories. I was in and out in 20 minutes, and the people working there could not have been nicer. I'm not kidding.
Wow. Did you use your credentials?
I did
you know
not.
who
I
I
did
am?
tell them that I am a regular contributor to the JB and Goldwater show.
Oh, God.
It's going to wave me in.
Opens up doors.
Yeah.
No, that's Gene, you don't do that. That's when they take your license from you for that. You don't get to keep it. Well, Gene, you're keeping the party rolling here, but this is happy hours now on going to be Monday at 1:00 from Scott Wingo to Gene Sapakoff. We just laughed for 60 minutes. This is good, Darren. We all need to start our weeks off laughing.
With a 1:00 happy hour. It's a good start.
That's right. That's right. So what do we call this? March Madness Eve, since tomorrow March starts? Is that it, Gene?
I think that's a good one. And
Okay.
Around here, it's not just basketball. There's going to be a lot more madness in baseball in Columbia and Clemson this weekend. And, hey, Clemson.
Hey, now. I'll get him back.
See what happens when you go to the DMV. You can't talk good about the DMV.
Yeah, that's seriously.
You can't do that. The DMV is always watching. Always watching.
Say something nice, kick you out. No.
I like Wingo's lingo.
Yeah, that's not bad. We got
Wingo's lingo. Okay. Gene, you can't say nice things about the DMV. It will haunt you. You'll lose service at least.
That's right. I don't know what happened there.
All right. So, hey, let's we'll get to hoops in just a minute. And we got a couple other things we want to talk some Major League Baseball with you. But let's talk about it, man. This weekend, here it comes. South Carolina and Clemson in college baseball. And we were just talking with Scotty, and I asked him to describe this rivalry as a player and now as a coach. And he said, hey, there's a little bit more on this rivalry. There's a little bit more on these games than there are on others. People tell you it's just another game. No, it's not. And that's okay. Those are his words. How do you describe this rivalry, especially with all the great rivalries across the country?
I think it's the best. I mean, I know you can make an argument for Mississippi and Mississippi State. There have been times when Miami and Florida or Miami and Florida State, for a while, there was even like Tulane and LSU or whatever. But I think only Mississippi and Mississippi State year in, year out can compare to this. And I think there's some extra added buzz this year because you're talking about two programs picked pretty far down in their respective conferences and left out of top 25s, left out of top 50s even in various preseason things. And I think they both are itching to prove something, and this is going to be fun. And I think the key is this. We know it means a lot going in. I want this to mean a lot coming out for the whole season. For the loser, for instance, to say, but we played South Carolina or we played Clemson, and for the winner to say our RPI is up a little extra because we beat South Carolina or we beat Clemson.
That's absolutely, and that's how it used to be, Gene. I mean, although there are certainly some things that have changed in this rivalry. I mean, one of the things that has made it so great is the fact that these teams are good. I mean, we can talk about a lot of great rivalries in a lot of sports, but people don't pay attention unless you're any good. And nationally, this rivalry has had so much attention over the last 20, 25 plus years. Well, I mean, long before that, but I mean, since really access kind of, all the internet and all this type stuff really became so common, this has been one of the best. And it's because they're good. They're generally really, really good. And what happens in this series matters at the end of the year.
And the fans care so dang much. I mean, I've said this before, maybe on the show, but I love saying this to people. In fact, I was talking to Mark Kingston just last week about this, and he just broke into a big smile. But it's so much fun to see the just shock of a journalist or a fan or somebody from another part of the country the first time they see a Clemson, South Carolina baseball game in person.
Yeah.
They're just stunned. Like, I didn't know college baseball could be like this. And I've seen it on the faces of national writers and on journalists that just come here, to work, and this is their first year on the gig or whatever. And certainly from fans, I've seen it in the press box, I've seen it in the stands, and I've seen it from coaches and assistant coaches. And it's really I just love it. It's one of the coolest things to see how that unfolds, because there just aren't, I don't know where else it is like that. Again, I guess Mississippi and Mississippi State, but almost nowhere else for a rivalry like this.
Nope, I agree. And I give a lot of credit to Ole Miss and Mississippi State. I think it's a wonderful rivalry. It has everything that this one has, except it's an all SEC series. Those games matter in SEC standings. These don't. Gene, if there was anything that you could change in this series, what would it be, if anything?
You're asking the wrong guy. The neutral site game would move around every year. It would not be anchored to one place for 3, 4, 5 years at a time. And Charleston and the Low Country would get its share. That neutral site game, you just asked me this, so make me the czar of the series. And it's going to be Charleston this year, Myrtle Beach the next year, North Augusta the next year, then Rock Hill, then Greenville. The neutral site game sure as heck is never going to be in Columbia. And because that's where one of the games is anyway. I understand why it is. I blame both schools. That's the biggest flaw, especially this year in this series.
That's fair. It's fair enough. I've heard people say they'd like to see it in Charlotte. Gene, I'm not one of those people. Charlotte is not in the state of South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, I consider Charlotte a suburb of South Carolina, as I do the Augusta National Golf Club. But yeah, just for the sake of it, I don't want to see it there. Now, the Augusta Green Jackets new ballpark happens to be in the Palmetto State, a beautiful new ballpark in North Augusta along the Savannah River. But you're looking across the river at Baja, South Carolina there. It's not in Georgia.
That's a great point. Gene Sapakoff, Post and Courier. Fondest memory or maybe the memory that stands out the most to you in covering this series over the years?
There are so many, but the first neutral site game was played in Charleston. Michael Ross started that game at the Joe, Bill Murray, before the game, went into both dugouts and shook the hands of every single player on both teams. And the Gamecocks won on a last-minute, a bottom of the inning great snag catch. And it was just a really good win for South Carolina in that game. But both Clemson and South Carolina had so many outstanding players on their rosters. That's my favorite game. Of course, I'm a little biased, covering sports here for 35 plus years, but that was a heck of a game. It was cool to start the neutral site thing. Michael Roth is on the mound, all kinds of great players in Garnet, same in Orange, Bill Murray before the game. I just love that whole scene.
How about these teams specifically and how they have started? The Gamecocks are 6-1 to open the season. One loss against a pretty good UNC Greensboro team in the opening weekend. The Tigers are 7-0. They scored, for those who stopped counting, on Saturday in a doubleheader against Hartford, 41 runs combined between the two games in a doubleheader sweep. So they're both off to pretty good starts. They both have some things I know they're trying to get cleaned up before they play each other this weekend. But your early impressions of Coach Kingston and Coach Lee's teams?
I think they really couldn't have asked for better starts. There were some shaky aspects, really, to both. A lot of runners left on, for instance, for Clemson, despite those high scores early. And South Carolina came obviously close to losing that first series. They left some runners aboard too. And Clemson's striking out a little too much, I think, for Monty Lee's taste. But so many intriguing individual stories on both sides. It looks like Caden Bryce is really blossoming into just this super duper star that I don't think people really saw him being this good when he signed with Clemson, and obviously he had a good year last year, but now he looks a lot more disciplined at the plate. And I think, he's had some good talks with some former Clemson players and that have helped him with this. And I think Seth Beer is first among them. And I think Caden Bryce is just a much better player. And then Mac Anglin, their Friday starter. Wow. He's had two just lights out starts. But the Gamecocks, I am so intrigued with this freshman shortstop, Michael Braswell, who also, has been good on the mound and won that UNC Greensboro game in relief. And then, of course, Andrew Eister, the guy that won both games, the first two games in the series last year with walk-off hits. That's just going to be fascinating every time he comes up in the series.
And he's already hit a game-tying grand slam this year. Andrew Eister has quickly turned himself into an all-time fan favorite for South Carolina. Gene, of the annual sporting events that happen in this state, and there's a lot of them professionally, certainly on a collegiate level because we're more of a college state, it feels like every year Clemson Carolina football is maybe the number one event or close to it. But where would you put this series? Just to see a game in this series, where would you rank it?
Let's eliminate the individual and professional sports. It's a clear number two. There's just no doubt about it. I mean, you wish the basketball would get better, or that Clemson somehow could get better in women's basketball, but this is a clear number two. And that neutral site game, wherever it is, when you just look out there and one side, the first base side is orange and the third base side is garnet or vice versa, is just a blast and just a really cool thing and something to look forward to. And again, there's just nothing else quite like that in the country.
I totally agree. Gene Sapakoff, 148. Here on the JB and Goldwater Show. All right, how about the Citadel and how about the College of Charleston, Gene? Both are 6-1 to open the year. I was down there Saturday. I mentioned to Darren earlier watching the Dogs play. And that Villanova team they beat this weekend, that's a pretty good team. I didn't realize that Villanova had some of the guys that they have. The Cougars are hammering the baseball. The Citadel, they've scored in double figures in 4 of their 7 games this year. So for those two proud low country programs, they're off to really good starts.
Yeah. For the Citadel, to be picked as low as they were, it looks like Tony Scholes really got this thing, headed in the right direction. It's early, you don't know, but that is as good of a start as you could have asked for. And you're right about Villanova. They come from a good conference and they've played a lot better baseball than I think people realize over the last several years. For the College of Charleston, I'm really impressed with this pitching staff of this team. And I'll tell you, to me, I just mentioned Michael Braswell and Mac Anglin and, of course, Caden Grice. To me, the most intriguing player in this first few weeks of the season in the Palmetto State in college baseball is freshman pitcher for the College of Charleston, Daniel Brooks. Now, this guy, I wrote about him when he was in high school and projected as an early round draft pick. What happened is, his agent gave a high figure to the major league teams and they backed off of that. And so he ended up in college, which is not such a bad thing. Agents, including Scott Boras, advise, high school pitchers to go to college and to enhance their draft stock. This guy has been tremendous in both of his first two starts. He's already a weekend starter, 6'7", 245 at the very least, both in height and weight, and is a really good athlete. He played basketball in high school at Bishop England too. And he is going to be very interesting to watch going forward.
Absolutely. Coach Holbrook is just over the moon about this kid. I mean, they're and also Daniel comes from just such a great family, has had really good baseball instruction and training. And I think if he stays healthy, that guy is going to be just an outstanding baseball player. Hey, look, the College of Charleston, and we'll see, because Coach Holbrook has already laid it out there, the fact that there's a lot of really good arms in the CAA, and there are every year. I don't think people understand sometimes how much talent is actually in the league, because it doesn't have a bunch of traditional baseball programs in it. But saying all that, Gene, Coach Holbrook might have the best 1-2 combo in the league, and for that matter, in a lot of areas. The Ty Good kid on Friday and then rolling into this cat on Saturdays, that's dynamic. And there's not a lot of teams that are going to want to see them Friday and Saturday and are going to be able to beat both of them as well to win a series. So we'll see how it all works out. But this might be as good of a Friday-Saturday combo as he's had in a long time.
Well, yeah. And the other thing is, if you just look at that staff and the guys that have been contributing generally, is it's really young. And I mean, that projects well going forward, and then probably for attracting recruits. Now, the CAA has been tougher than people think. There's some really good coaches in that league. So it's going to be fun to watch. But again, we talked about the fact of some of the teams they have coming into play in the non-conference, including number 1 Texas, and Tony Skoll at the Citadels also scheduled them, all mainly because Mark Kingston scheduled them in for a non-conference series after going out to Austin last year. And of course, Texas about to be a semi-regular or regular on the Gamecock schedule as the Longhorns move into the SEC.
Yeah. Let's hope they don't keep playing like this. Their team ERA this year, folks, 0.5. It is unbelievable what they've done in Austin. All right, Gene, on to hoops. Carolina loses to Alabama. So what's it look like? Navigate the road for Carolina to pull off an NCAA berth.
Well, I think they have to beat Missouri Tuesday. I think they need to win at Auburn, and then I think they need to get to the SEC championship game and then try to make their argument. I don't think anything less than that is going to work with a 91 net ranking. And to look at to see how hard it is to move up there. Clemson went 2-0 last week and moved up 1 spot from something like 86 to 85. And by the way, I had never would want to start any Clemson South Carolina controversy, but Clemson being way worse than it looked like they would be a month or so ago isn't helping South Carolina's net ranking. I know they won a couple of games last week, but I expected Clemson to be a lot better than 85 or 86 in the net, and for that loss for the Gamecocks not to hurt so much, that's hurting them. I mean, it's not Coastal Carolina or Princeton, but it's not helpful.
We've talked about that a lot.
On.
Yeah, it's not just Clemson, right? I mean,
Florida
Georgetown, Florida State. The schedule, while it looked good, has hurt South Carolina and hurt them significantly.
Good point, Darren. At one point, I think Florida State, in like a matter of a couple of weeks, went from first place in the ACC to, they're clearly out of the tournament. And it's a lot about injuries. And the committee can look at that, but things like that aren't going to help the Gamecocks. They're going to have to win their way, and they might even have to win their way impressively. Like they beat Auburn on a last-second shot. Maybe that's not good enough. Maybe they need to go in there and win by 12 or something like that.
Well, look, according to how some of the metrics work, that's kind of what it seems. Frank has already alluded to that. By the way, Clemson and Florida State have a combined 29-28 record, and also just a combined 8 wins versus quad 1 and quad 2 teams. 8 total between the two of them.
And they've been a mess recently. Take out these recent 2 Clemson wins, whatever. I mean, they've been a mess.
It's been bad. And the Georgetown thing, Gene, I mean, it looks like Patrick Ewing's probably going to be on his way out. I don't know that anybody coming into the year said, okay, Georgetown is going to be, a top 25 team. But I also don't know of many people that thought it was going to be a quad 4 win for South Carolina. I mean, they're horrible. So that didn't help them either.
Again, both the record and the eye test. I mean, I've watched one of their games recently, and it just looks like they don't know what they're doing. And it's sad because Georgetown basketball is just good for all college basketball. Maybe they can get it back together. I kind of doubt it. And it would be strange to me if Patrick Ewing came back as head coach.
You know what? This is eerily similar. The records aren't, but the non-conference situation is to what happened to the 2015-2016 South Carolina team, Gene, not get into the dance before the year before they went on to the Final Four. People really were hammered. Now people forget what happened, but they hammer Frank on the lack of strength of schedule in the non-con. Well, people forget that year that Clemson was on the schedule. They had St. John's on the schedule at St. John's. Or at Mohegan Sun. They had Memphis on that schedule that year. They went down to the Bahamas and won that tournament. I mean, he schedules, I think, fairly well. And if anybody remembers, Memphis was terrible. St. John's was terrible. All the teams ended up being in that tournament weren't any good. None of them helped. So all those non-con wins, even with an 11-7 record in the SEC, Georgia's what kept them out of the dance that year as they lost to the Dogs 3 times. But those non-con wins, everybody thought they would help. None of them helped. It has a very similar feel to me.
It kind of does, but when you're 91 in the net ranking, and believe me, I don't think that the metrics there are perfect, but even in some other rankings, they're just way far off. They're going to have to make a really, really strong case here. Now, look, if they can go on this run that I suggested, gets them into the SEC championship game, they can look and say, look what's happened to us in the last month of the season. We're really one of the better teams in the country as far as one-loss record-wise. But and we come from a really good conference. But I just don't. This is very unlikely now. Very unlikely that they would make the tournament. And the NIT, I heard somebody, I'm not going to name the person, on the radio in Columbia saying the NIT could be very meaningful. It could really help for next year's team to have this postseason experience. That's fine if you tell me who's on next year's team, because with the transfer portal, you just don't know who's coming and going.
Well, look, if they get to the NIT, Gene, although it's certainly a step in the right direction from where they've been and what they've had to climb out of, they need to go deep. I mean, you can't get to the first round and lose in the NIT, or even, for that matter, probably like I seriously think this team, if they get in the NIT, they need to find a way to Madison Square Garden, so there can be some real energy moving forward. Because if not, it's a lot of dead energy, and that's a problem.
Well, yeah, and speaking of energy and energy in the building at the CLA, I mean, I think the fans are kind of voting here, and a lot of empty seats in that facility, and that's going around college basketball for sure, except for places where they're either traditional powers like Duke and Kentucky, or where you have, real upstart teams having tremendous seasons. But that is not a good look. I think those empty seats, especially in the lower bowl, for most of the Gamecock games here down the stretch.
Yep. South Carolina women, they your pick to win the SEC tournament?
Yeah, I think unless there's an injury there, that they're in really good shape to win the SEC tournament and beyond. I will say that you got to wonder here about UConn making a run somewhere down the line if Paige Buckers is going to be that good and that healthy. But overall, I mean, South Carolina, just look at the depth. I mean, Don Staley doesn't even have to get more than 6 or 8 points off the bench, but they just wear teams down just with their defense and production and don't seem to skip a beat. Even when they've got 2 players off playing for their for their respective national teams, the Gamecocks just, their depth shines absolutely. And this is the time of year when that is going to start paying off here in these next few weeks.
Gamecocks will await the winner of Missouri and Arkansas. And for Missouri's sake, I hope they lose, because they're not going to want to see the Lady Gamecocks in the SEC tournament after pulling that upset earlier this year. Yeah, payback can be a you-know-what, and they'll be waiting on it. Finally, I know we're up against it here, Gene, but Derek Jeter steps down this morning. It basically said, I don't really know what's going on here, but they're taking this thing in a different direction from what I signed up for, so I'm out. But the bigger story is that the deadline of Major League Baseball is technically today. Strike a deal or the season gets postponed. The league has threatened today basically to threaten an entire month if they don't get a deal done or not. What do you think happens?
I think in about a week they'll get a deal done. And yeah, I know Major League Baseball has put the deadline on there, but part of the final compromise will be that we're going to play some 7-inning doubleheaders and things like that, and we'll end up with a 162-game season. I always thought it would come down to the wire. They are significantly and legitimately far apart on some major issues, but I think both sides just have too much to lose here. And as they get right close to the edge of the cliff, they're going to realize it and make some kind of a deal, even if it's a short-term one.
I hope so. Yeah, I think we're all ready to see base. Talked to Grayson Griner last week. He's looking for a deal. Freddie Freeman's looking for a deal. There's a lot of guys out there looking for deals, and they can't get them done until these people figure it out. So we'll see. All right, Gene, what's in the paper this week?
Okay, well, coming on Sunday, I've got an interview, a sit-down interview I had with new Clemson athletic director Graham Neff. He's only 38 years old. He looks 28. He must look 18 to some people because he still says he still gets carded. So he's a very interesting guy. And my question is, everybody says, hey, he's the nicest guy. What a nice guy. Oh, this Graham Neff. And he looks so young. So my questions for him, are you tough enough for this job? And we talked about toughness and that this is a grown man's job. And we'll just see what he has to say about that.
I'm looking forward to that. I bet there will be something in there about Carolina Clemson baseball this week too. Hey, Gene, I'm going to end it on a little bit of this is a personal feeling. All right. And I hadn't been down there in a year, and I guess maybe last year I didn't notice. They're having to fix some things at Riley Park up with the press box. I think they had some structural stuff going on. I think I've been to a lot of ballparks. Love Riley Park, grown up there, played there, the whole 9 yards. I think it's time for some renovations. It's just my personal feel on it. There's some things out there that need to be cleaned up comparatively when you look at the rest of the state. So you're the guy with the right magical right hand. Maybe you can get it moving. They need to clean it up a little bit.
I think you're exactly right. They need a couple of key things. They need a catwalk around the whole outfield, which they said they would be working on 2 or 3 years ago. And you need to see through the concourse. When you're walking the concourse, you need to see the field. That's the things that I would like to see.
Yep. Yeah, and maybe some seats that aren't dyed out, and they need to clean it up. So, City of Charleston, let's get this thing moving because they deserve it down there at the Joe. Hey, I hope it doesn't happen to you because you've already had such success at the DMV today. But if you do lose a tooth, it's Tooth Fairy Day. So just put it under your pillow, Gene, and the Tooth Fairy will drop off a couple bucks.
Oh, I'm so excited. Outstanding.
I'm so excited.
Thank you so much, man. Have a wonderful week. Happy March. We all love this month of the year when it comes to sports. Can't wait to talk to you next week.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys, for having me.
Yes, sir. There you go. Gene Sapakoff, 8-time sports writer of the year. Yeah, look, I don't mean to offend anybody that follows our program locally, but
you're right.
Time to clean it up down there.
You're right. I mean, it's not the pristine new tool that we remember from 4 years ago. It's not.
They got work to do. It's they've lived on the fact that it's on the Ashley River for long enough. It's time to clean it up. It doesn't look good. Just to be blunt. All right, Darren, thank you as always, my friend.
Thank you, man.
Thanks to Gene Sapakoff, Scott Wingo. God, if you missed that, you better go back and listen. And thanks to Wes Mitchell. I don't know who's on tomorrow. I can't think that far ahead, but I know we'll be here, so we hope you will too. Tell everybody you know to download the JB and Goldwater app. It is so worth it. We'll see you tomorrow at noon on the JB and Goldwater Show.